Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Gerardo Morillo, founder of ProsperityLifeHacks.com. Today's topic is on forgiveness. This topic is more importantly for people who are actually pursuing their path of spirituality, probably on the Kundalini path or some other kind of spiritual paths. They all lead to the same conclusion anyways, whether you are Christian, Kundalini, Buddha, etc., etc. This will apply to any sort of religion. So I just wanted to clarify on that. Forgiveness is a universal thing, no matter what religion or spiritual practice. This is generally seen, I guess, as a weak quality to forgive someone. And I'll be honest with you, this is a very difficult topic because we there's a lot of pride when it comes into forgiving people. And later on this video, I'll be teaching you guys certain kind of techniques that you can use to let go of those grudges and bitterness and those pains. So I guess we need to define what is forgiveness. Forgiveness is like when someone pains you in some kind of way, and you have to kind of like, forgive them, or you release the pain by accepting it, or with other kind of methods. Generally speaking, people have a hard time with forgiving because, again, it is kind of seen as a weak thing. But for those people who are pursuing high level of spirituality, forgiveness is one of those things that is a must. The Kundalini awakening is about, or the Kundalini is about purifying yourself as much as you can. I'm assuming this applies to all human as well. So it's not like if you're not part of the Kundalini, even if you're not spiritual, for the act of forgiving other people will detach those pains that you have had from the past and essentially remove those emotional damages. And this is one of one of the hardest things that we can do as spiritual or just people in general. See, that's like a little cute picture, a little key in the heart there. The implication is that when you forgive, you release that pain. And that's what it is all about. That's what forgiveness is about. Forgiveness is about releasing the old pains that you still have inside of you. We all contain these burdens of the past. We all have these problems and pains that have been so difficult to kind of let go. In fact, many of us probably actually never let go. We still held the pain, and we never actually alleviated the problem. We never actually alleviated the pain. What we did was just, I'm upset, I'm pissed, and we never fixed the problems. In fact, I know in my case also, there's many cases where I never actually fixed the problem. I just kind of like said, forget them, this or that. Forget them. I'm just gonna do it without them. And that was a decent little solution. The issue is that I never actually resolved anything with a lot of people. So I kind of just left and I never resolved anything. The problem is what this does, it creates negative energy within your own body and within their body, because every problem needs a solution. It is a mandatory thing for, especially for spiritual people. Every problem needs a resolution. This is for people particularly, again, looking to achieve their highest level of spirituality. If you have a conflict with someone, it needs to be resolved. Sometimes this does mean like bickering and yelling, and I really don't like to suggest this one because I feel like people like this is the one that people overdo, and that's the one that people really should like minimize. People are more likely to fix a problem by bickering and yelling, which is not the the best way to fix a problem initially. That's probably one of the least uh, best methods to like handle these kind of pains. Yet it's the one that most people use, which is why I don't like to suggest bickering and yelling as a means to fix problems, because that's the one that most people tend to do anyways. There are a few methods that we can do to alleviate pains. There's one way where you can talk to that person directly. That's one way about it, where you literally talk to this other person and you say to them what's on your mind, what's bothering you. This is something that I struggle with myself, where it's like, I don't want to create a conflict, I don't want to bring some unnecessary tension, yet sometimes that unnecessary tension needs to be created in order to create that resolution. And there is an end to this also. Sometimes, like, if you're not in a favorable situation, you need to take the loss. Like, there are cases where I could have been logically correct, but I knew that there wasn't time to be logically correct. I just needed to take the loss because of the emotional conflict, or just because, like, it wasn't my place to say something, or it wasn't my time to say something, and I felt it in my heart, and I felt really shitty about it. I felt really shitty about it, honestly. So I guess the point is, I'm going back to the point rather, any sort of pains that you have need to be addressed. Sometimes they call these things like psychic attacks. When you have a problem with someone, you actually have psychic attacks going against you. The way to fix this problem is to be okay with your past and be okay with the people who are in your life. This is very challenging because people are very prideful in general, and they don't want to overcome the fact that I fucked up, or this person fucked up, and that is a problem, because what happens then is that you have these emotional conflictions, emotional pains, emotional damages of all kinds that have been wrong, that have wronged you, and you're kind of holding that inside your heart, inside your system, inside your mind and body system. What this does is it creates issues on our own mind and body systems, and particularly for people who are into law of attraction and manifestation of any kind, the things that you don't fix in the past, well, guess what? They screw your present, they screw your manifestation, they screw your ability to manifest. So even if you're the selfish type, or even if you're the arrogant type, if you do want to manifest more money, guess what? You have to fix your past to be able to manifest and materialize your desires a lot easier. So even if you're doing it for selfish reasons, then that is one way about it. Number two is that you can actually fix emotional damages through imagination. You can literally go back in time, rechange the event itself. I'm not gonna go too in depth into this, but you can go back in time, you can change the actual memory itself so the pain can kind of be alleviated. George Hutton has a product called Emotional Freedom, which I'll provide a link down below, which he can teach you a little bit more in detail than I could. But essentially what it's about fixing the emotional pains that were caused that happened a long time ago, and that you still haven't fixed just yet. So I guess this wasn't really about just forgiveness. It was just about like emotional problems in general, fixing emotional problems. The next way is not a very popular way. It's crying. Believe it or not, crying will alleviate those pains in your heart that you have not fixed. And this goes for me also, because I was like, I wanted to be Mr. Independent, Mr. Strongman, this or that, but when I got into my high spiritual level and spiritual understanding, I realized that there's certain things that you have to let go and you have to fix. And one of those ways was through crying. And the thing is, this is not treated as a masculine thing, so this is why men have this problem with crying. But crying is a very spiritual thing. If you have emotional damages, one of the natural responses is to cry. In fact, blocking the crying process is actually making it worse. Like, you're literally stopping your response of crying because you're too masculine, and that messes up your whole mind and body system because now you have those like energy blockages, and now you didn't let yourself cry, which means that you even made it worse. So that blockage is still there. So the thing is that it creates a blockage. So every time you get some kind of emotional problem, it creates a blockage, and that needs to be healed in some kind of way. One way you can do it is through the act of crying. And people generally see, this is one of those weird things because it's like, okay, you can't cry because that doesn't make you man. I think there's like a quote or something. It's like, real men don't cry or something like that. I think the point of that quote is just that real men are not weak, real men are strong. The problem is that that quote is wrong in terms of the specifics, but I understood the meaning behind it. The point is that real men are not weak, something like that. But the point, I mean, to be a real man, to be a spiritual man, crying is an okay thing. You know, babies cry as a natural response to stress. Men, we kind of block that crying thing because out of ego, pride, society, culture. But crying is a natural form of alleviating pains. It's a healing thing. It's a response to a pain, so you want to heal yourself of it. If you have pains that you've never cried about in the past, you owe it to yourself to cry. And I'm using those words specifically because what it's trying to say. What else do I say about this? Another way you can do this is also just by saying I forgive you out loud. Imagine the person that you wish to have forgiven. Just imagine it out loud. Say it out loud. I forgive you. Write it maybe down also. I forgive you. Write it down, write it down, write it down. You want to release those pains, especially the ones that were in your past. Those past pains need to be healed. And that's because they create issues in your mind and body system. In fact, if you still have these pains, you probably still feel those pains, and they're somewhere on your body, maybe on your heart, or maybe somewhere else. I think that emotional pains you can feel it in the heart area. Those pains need to be fixed. Those pains need to be healed. Although they were, 10 or 20 years ago, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like some people say, like, yeah, just get over it. It doesn't really work that way because you can't just get over it. You have to fix it. So you technically speaking, you can't just get over it. You actually have to heal it. You have to heal the wound. It doesn't like just fix itself. You have to kind of do a variety of techniques or methods to heal those past wounds. Anyways, this was Gerardo Morillo on forgiveness, emotional healing, etc. This video was particularly for spiritual people on the highest, people who really want to get further on their spirituality. People may be interested in just healing emotional issues. I'm going to be providing you with a couple links down below that will better assist and guide you into healing those pains that you still have or still may or may not have. And let's face it, we all have pains that we need to be healed of. And I suggest you give it a try. Otherwise, it could screw your manifestations. Thank you. Thank you for listening. This has been Gerardo Morillo, founder of ProsperityLifeHacks.com. Bye bye now.